Justin Bieber is once again unraveling, and the sad truth is that the very industry that built him is now cashing in on his downfall. Lately, his Instagram has been filled with strange clips, videos where he uses face-distorting filters, rambling, without direction about faith, identity, and sacrifice. Reports claim that much of the fortune he earned over his career, more than $500 million, is slipping out of his hands. From the outside, it all seems confusing and chaotic. But when you dig a little deeper, you start to realize that Justin's collapse isn't some random accident. His downfall has been carefully engineered, a system set in motion back when he was just 13 years old. Fast forward to July 2025. Justin drops his first album in 4 years, a surprise project titled Swag. And yet, instead of celebrating his comeback, the same machine that created him is now feeding on his destruction. Because in this business, it isn't your happiness that keeps the lights on, it's your suffering. But to truly understand what Justin is going through right now, we need to rewind the clock. We have to go back to where it all began, when a young boy singing on the streets of Ontario unknowingly stepped into one of the most ruthless industries in the world. It's 2008. A sweet-looking 13-year-old with a bowl cut stands on the steps of the Avon Theatre in Stratford, Ontario, singing So Sick by Neo. His mother films the moment on a cheap handheld camera, intending only for his grandmother to see it on YouTube. But within just a few weeks, that innocent little clip takes on a life of its own. The video reaches Scooter Braun, a 27-year-old music executive on the hunt for the next big thing. Almost immediately, Braun flies Justin and his single mother down to Atlanta. His offer? Irresistible. Fame, money, and the promise of making every dream come true. When Justin arrives in Atlanta, he's introduced to none other than Usher, one of the biggest stars in the world at that time. With an endorsement like that, it doesn't take long before record contracts are signed, photo ops are staged, and the perfect narrative is born. The small-town Canadian kid who made it big in America. On the surface, everything looks like a dream. The early years seemed magical for Justin and his family. His single baby becomes one of the most viewed videos in YouTube's history. His concerts sell out in minutes. Merchandise flies off shelves faster than anyone can restock. To the outside, world Justin Bieber is living a fairy tale. But behind the curtain, this 14-year-old boy is already beginning to lose control of his own life. His first kiss? Turned into a global media event, his voice cracking? Late-night talk shows joke about it. His awkward teenage years are broadcast worldwide, not for his growth, but for profit. It's like something ripped straight from The Truman Show, where every step, every mistake, every vulnerable moment is engineered for public consumption. Even when he sits down for interviews, he isn't safe. Ellen DeGeneres, hailed as America's sweetheart at the time, ambushes young Justin with embarrassing clips and humiliating photos. She laughs when he squirms in discomfort, and when he calls her out, she brushes it off with a smile, claiming it's just harmless fun. But in reality, it was psychological manipulation, packaged and sold as entertainment, and Ellen wasn't the only one. At award shows, actress Jenny McCarthy repeatedly crosses the line, attempting to kiss the teenage Justin inappropriately. In one infamous moment, she even tries to kiss his neck while he's on stage accepting an award. Justin is visibly disturbed, but forced to keep his composure for the cameras. Even celebrities like James Corden couldn't seem to keep their hands off him. But the darkest presence in his early years? Diddy. Looking back now, their interactions are deeply unsettling. In one infamous video, Diddy tells a 15-year-old Justin that he'll buy him a Lamborghini when he turns 16, and even promises him a house when he's 18. These weren't just casual offers. They were textbook grooming tactics, lavish gifts meant to buy silence and loyalty. A pattern we've now seen him repeat with numerous young celebrities. The most disturbing footage, however, is of Diddy openly warning Justin, almost bragging, that he should know better than to talk about what happens at his place. Watching it now, with everything we know, it's chilling. Think about this for a second. Diddy was given custody of a 15-year-old Justin Bieber for 48 hours. 2 entire days where an adult man, with a documented history of highly inappropriate behavior, had unsupervised access to a child star. No parents, no real protection. Just Justin, left vulnerable in a situation no teenager should ever be in. There's even bizarre footage where Diddy appears to check Justin for a wire, as if he's suspicious that this teenager might be secretly recording their conversations. And now, with everything we know about Diddy's alleged crimes, his infamous parties, and the abuse of young artists, those 48 hours take on a terrifying new meaning. You can literally see the nervousness on Justin's face back then, a discomfort that over time only deepened. His expressions grew heavier, almost hollow, leaving people to wonder what he may have been subjected to behind closed doors. And while all this was happening, Justin was never given a chance to live a normal childhood. From the very beginning, his life wasn't his own. Everywhere he went, fans screamed in his face. Paparazzi followed him like a shadow. Strangers hurled hate at him wherever he appeared. Every single moment, whether he was tired, annoyed, or just being an awkward teenager, was captured, published, and sold as entertainment for millions of strangers. But perhaps the most shocking part isn't just what happened in secret. It's what was happening in plain sight, with the very people who were supposed to protect him. Take Scooter Braun, for example. At the time, the story painted him as Justin's guardian. The media loved the narrative, a wise older brother guiding a young prodigy safely through the chaos of fame. In reality, Scooter made himself inseparable from Justin, controlling not only his career, but nearly every aspect of his personal life. He decided Justin's schedule. He oversaw his money. He influenced his relationships and shaped every career choice. Slowly but surely, Bieber was isolated and made dependent on Scooter, and by extension, the same entertainment machine that was profiting from his pain. Justin didn't see it at first. How could he? He was just a kid living inside a carefully crafted world. But as the years passed, the spark in his eyes from those early YouTube videos began to fade. That bright innocence was replaced by a hollow stare, the look of someone slowly being drained by the very system that claimed to protect him. By the time we reached 2020, Justin Bieber's career had already generated somewhere between $500 million to nearly $1 billion. But the cost wasn't measured in money. It was written across his face, in the loss of his youth and the weight he carried long before he was old enough to handle it. Justin's success looked untouchable from the outside. His concerts packed stadiums in every city. Every album he dropped went platinum. His merchandise became a worldwide craze. By all accounts, he had achieved what millions only dream about. He had the fame, the fortune, the connections, the influence, even the looks. If anyone was set for life, it was Justin Bieber. At least that's what people assumed. Because behind all the flashing lights and sold-out arenas, Justin's financial situation was quietly crumbling. The question is, how does someone who earns close to $1 billion somehow end up financially desperate? It sounds impossible, but in the music industry, it's a story as old as time. This is the trap, the cycle, that swallows so many young artists who enter the industry with the purest dreams. It's what you'd call the classic music industry, debt trap. Here's how it works. Labels and management companies lure artists in with advances. These are upfront payments that look like free money, but they're not free at all. They're loans. Loans that are only paid back through the artist's cut of royalties. And here's the brutal part. That cut usually falls somewhere between just 10 to 16% of total sales. In other words, the artist, the one whose face and name are selling everything, only keeps a tiny fraction, and it doesn't stop there. Through a process called cross-collateralization, one failure sticks to you like glue. If an album underperforms, the debt doesn't just disappear, it carries over to your next project. That means even if you come back with a massive hit, the money you make is still being drained to cover old losses. For someone like Justin, it meant that a disappointing project in 2015 could still eat away at the profits from a blockbuster album 5 years later. Now, let's be clear. Justin wasn't broke in the traditional sense. Reports estimate his net worth still sat somewhere between $200 and $300 million. But here's the problem. Most of that wealth was locked away in illiquid assets, things he couldn't just spend freely. Which is why, by 2022, whispers started to spread that Bieber was facing a serious cash flow crisis. Sources even claimed that things got so tight, he had to borrow a friend's credit card just to play golf. For a global superstar worth hundreds, of millions, that moment showed just how fragile his financial foundation really was. By 2022, Justin was fully immersed in his Justice World Tour, a massive 131-date global journey that was meant to be his big comeback. After years of health challenges and personal struggles, this tour was supposed to mark his triumphant return to the stage, a chance to prove to the world that he was stronger than ever. But then, in June of that year, everything changed. Justin uploaded a video that stunned millions of fans across the globe. In the clip, his voice was calm but heavy, his tone steady, yet filled with quiet fear. As the camera focused in, the shocking truth became clear. Half of his face was completely paralyzed.
This eye is not blinking. I can't smile on this side of my face. This nostril will not move. So there's full paralysis in this side of my face.
Doctors soon revealed the frightening truth. Justin had been diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that left one side of his face paralyzed. He couldn't blink one eye. He couldn't move half his mouth. For a global pop star, someone whose entire career depended on his ability to sing and perform, it was devastating. Justin himself admitted in that video that the toll of his lifestyle, the endless touring, the pressure, the demands, was breaking down his health. Any reasonable management team, seeing their client in this state, would have slammed the brakes immediately. They would have canceled the tour, prioritized his recovery, and shielded him from further damage. But that's not what happened. Allegedly, Justin's team continued to push him. Even as he struggled with paralysis, the show went on, and when his body finally gave out and he was forced to cancel, the financial fallout was massive. He now owed AEG, the concert promoter, $26 million from a $40 million advance. On the surface, it seemed like Scooter Braun's company came to the rescue. Reports claim they offered to cover the $26 million and let Justin repay it over the course of 10 years. To the outside world, Braun was once again the savior, stepping in when his client needed him most. But dig a little deeper, and it looks far less generous. In reality, Braun may not have saved Justin. He may have simply transferred that debt from one master to another. And this time, the master was Braun himself, the man already controlling nearly every part of Justin's life. When Justin stopped making payments after the first installment, the debt didn't go away. It only grew bigger. The hole he was in kept getting deeper and deeper. Then, in 2023, a new revelation made things even worse. Justin's business manager, Lou Taylor, conducted a financial review. What she allegedly discovered was shocking. Scooter Braun had been overpaid by as much as $26 million in commissions over the years. At that point, allegations against Braun began to shift into something more serious: claims of outright theft. And if that wasn't enough, even Lou Taylor herself turned out to be surrounded by controversy. Despite being referred to as an accountant, reports suggest she wasn't actually a licensed accountant at all.
Playing the role of business manager, which is a financial role, even though Lou Taylor had no financial background. She was not.
Lou Taylor's rise in the industry tells its own troubling story. She first stepped into the spotlight managing Britney Spears' younger sister, later serving as a spokesperson for the entire Spears family. Eventually, she took on Britney herself and infamously positioned herself at the center of Britney's conservatorship. To this day, many credit Lou with being the architect of that conservatorship, which stripped Britney of basic freedoms for years. And in true Hollywood fashion, scandal followed close behind. Lou was later accused of having an affair with Britney's father, Jamie Spears. To many, it looked like a textbook case of greed, control, and corruption playing out in plain sight. Just another example of how power works in the entertainment world. But Justin's situation was about to get even messier. In response to Lou Taylor's review, Scooter Braun's company fought back with an audit of their own. Their conclusion? Not only had Braun not been overpaid, but Justin allegedly owed him another $1 million in unpaid commissions. Justin's team immediately fired back, dismissing the audit as biased and corrupt. The conflict escalated until both sides agreed to bring in outside help. They turned to one of the most respected accounting firms in the world, PricewaterhouseCoopers, for an independent investigation. For 6 long months, forensic accountants tore apart Justin's finances, analyzing every detail. And in April 2025, their verdict arrived. The findings stunned everyone. Justin Bieber, after generating nearly $1 billion in revenue over his career, supposedly owed Scooter Braun $8.8 million in unpaid commissions. Let that sink in. After sold-out world tours, platinum albums, and endless merchandise sales, the global superstar was reported to be millions in debt to his own manager. The audit was so thorough, so damning, that Justin's team didn't even contest the results. And as his finances were ripped apart for the world to see, the toll wasn't just financial, it was psychological. By 2024, the cracks were impossible to hide. The pressure of living inside this Truman Show reality was breaking him. The media dissected his downfall, frame by frame, and Justin began to unravel under the weight. On social media, he opened up in a way that shocked fans. People told me my whole life, "Wow, Justin, you deserve that." And I personally have always felt unworthy, he confessed. Like I was a fraud. Like when people told me I deserved something, it made me feel sneaky. It was a glimpse into the fragile reality of a man who had everything the world could offer, but inside felt like he had nothing at all. Justin Bieber's internal battles were becoming harder to hide. He admitted on social media that he often felt like a fraud, unworthy of his fame and guilty for even receiving praise. "If people only knew my thoughts," he confessed, "how judgmental I am, how selfish I really am." His words revealed a classic trauma response. Years of manipulation had convinced him that his success was a gift he didn't deserve, and that questioning those in power made him ungrateful. By late 2022, his finances were collapsing. Mounting debts and dwindling cash flow forced Bieber into a decision he would later regret deeply, selling his entire 291-song catalog to Hypnosis Songs Capital for $200 million. At just 28, he became the youngest major artist in history to give up full ownership of his work. It was, in effect, a bailout from debts created by the very system that exploited him. Within a year, Bieber cut ties with Scooter Braun. The split wasn't sudden. Reports revealed that Justin and his wife, Hailey, had been exploring new management for nearly 3 years. Hailey was said to have pushed hardest for the change. And Justin wasn't alone. Braun also lost Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, and several other high-profile clients in quick succession. Even Taylor Swift had once accused Braun of profiting from her pain when he purchased her catalog, calling it "my worst-case scenario." By 2025, Braun had officially retired, but Bieber's financial crisis wasn't the only headline. His marriage to Hailey became constant fodder for speculation. Their love story, which began with promises of stability, in 2018 was now dissected daily. Happy photos fueled the perfect couple narrative. Tense moments stoked divorce rumors. And when the couple welcomed their son, Jack Blues, in August 2024, their family life became yet another spectacle. The pressure boiled over in June 2025, when Justin, now a father desperate to protect his family, confronted paparazzi outside a Malibu restaurant. Years of exploitation, control, and public scrutiny had finally pushed him to his breaking point.
Not me today, bro.
Happy Father's Day.
No, stop
Happy
that.
Father's Day.
Stop. I'm a real dad
Happy
with a
Father's
real
Day.
family. And
know
you're
that
really
as
in
well.
front of my face. No.
Happy Father's
No,
Day.
no. We're going to set boundaries here today with all of you today.
Yeah.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business.
Justin's outburst was raw and heartfelt, a father begging for something as simple as privacy. For a brief moment, millions sympathized, but within hours, his pain was reduced to internet fodder. The plea that came from a place of desperation was twisted into yet another viral meme, just another joke at his expense, as had been happening since he was a child star. Hollywood showed no mercy. Stardom never granted exceptions, not for new parents, not for those clearly struggling. In fact, the presence of a newborn only made things worse, giving paparazzi a stronger motive to cash in on invasive photos. Reasoning with them was impossible. They thrived on chaos and humiliation. By early 2025, the cracks in Bieber's life were impossible to ignore. Each public appearance showed him looking more disoriented, more fragile. His online presence mirrored the unraveling. Instagram posts became erratic, raising alarms among fans. In one string of deleted clips, he appeared with bizarre, face-distorting filters, speaking in a squeaky, high-pitched voice. Between rambling anecdotes, like claiming he'd spent part of his childhood in Alaska. He spiraled into scattered religious references, leaving many wondering if he was crying out for help or simply losing his grip.
Alaska living. I mean, I caught a couple. I was over there, I was fishing on the dock. I was, I must have been in 17, 18, 19, and when I tell you I reeled them in, Bobby, I reeled them in. I don't mean to get in between.
His very presence told the story before he spoke. The restless fidgeting, the lack of eye contact, the vacant expression, it all suggested a man wrestling with either deep mental illness or heavy substance dependence. When his clarity did break through, it was even more devastating. His posts read like fragments of a broken soul, admitting he was shattered, blaming himself for everything. Physically, the decline was undeniable. Gaunt features, hollow eyes, and erratic behavior painted a grim picture, no matter how many times his team insisted he was doing fine. Justin himself once confessed to alcoholism, revealing that mornings often began with pills. More recently, sightings, like his fragile, intoxicated state at Coachella, only fueled the speculation that alcohol wasn't his only vice. The contrast was painful. Gone was the bright-eyed boy once filmed singing by his mother, replaced by a shell of the man he was pushed to become. For years, people found him arrogant or unlikable, but what we're seeing now is far darker. The toll of an industry that grips a child and refuses to release him, even after nearly 2 decades. Even his mother saw it coming. In her 2012 memoir, she admitted the crushing weight of managing her son's contracts and the constant fear of leading him into the wrong hands. Looking back, her instincts were right. Those very deals became shackles, chaining him to toxic figures like Diddy and others who would define his adult life. By July 2025, the truth of Justin's collapse finally began to surface. He quietly settled his $30 million debt with Scooter Braun. And then, out of nowhere, he dropped his first album in 4 years. Swag wasn't the polished, boyish pop people remembered. It was 21 tracks of raw confession, a man bleeding onto record, processing years of trauma in real time. Yet even here, the cruel irony remained. While Bieber tried to heal through his music, the same industry that broke him continued to profit from his pain. Track 14, Therapy Session, cuts deeper than most. Justin confides to comedian Dusky, "I've had to go through my struggles really publicly. People always asking if I'm okay starts to weigh on me. The pain is palpable, an artist suffocating under the microscope of fame." Other tracks unravel the chaos of his relationships and even his marriage. And the timing of the album wasn't random. Just as Hailey's beauty company Rhode sold for over $1 billion, the couple suddenly had the resources to buy Justin's freedom. But as soon as the ink dried, Braun's camp rushed to the press, painting themselves as the victims, claiming Scooter had been endlessly patient while Justin partied away millions. Meanwhile, Justin himself was spiraling in another direction, desperately clawing for meaning. His Instagram became less about music, more about religion. Cryptic prayers, scripture quotes, pleas for guidance. But even faith, the one place he sought peace, became another trap. Back in 2014, during one of his lowest points, Justin had turned to Hillsong, the celebrity megachurch with its glossy, come-as-you-are branding. He even moved in with Pastor Carl Lentz for 6 weeks, growing completely dependent on the charismatic leader who once baptized him at 2 a.m. in an NBA player's bathtub. The bond seemed genuine. Lentz helped salvage Justin's public image, while Justin's star power made Hillsong a magnet for more celebrities. But behind the curtain, ex-members described something chilling, a cult-like obsession with fame, eerily similar to Scientology. Justin wasn't receiving spiritual guidance. He was being exploited, again. When Lentz was exposed in 2020 for multiple affairs and abusive behavior, it shattered the illusion. Another mentor revealed as a manipulator. Justin later shifted to Church Home, another Hillsong offshoot led by Judah Smith, a pastor also, accused of cult-like practices. It was a painful pattern repeating itself. Every corner of Justin's life, from childhood and finances to his marriage and even his faith, seemed to be consumed and controlled by people who saw him less as a person and more as a commodity. All the core foundations of a full human life, love, freedom, stability, purpose, seemed to have been stripped away from Justin. Despite the fortune, the fame, and the image of perfection, deep down he's been left with nothing. And then, hovering like a shadow, is the resurfaced Diddy connection. As Diddy faces mounting charges, those old clips of him with a teenage Justin take on a haunting new meaning. Whether Justin was a direct victim or not, the fact remains, he was exposed to what federal prosecutors now openly call a criminal enterprise. But here's the real horror story. Justin's experience isn't an anomaly. It's a blueprint. A pattern Hollywood has been refining for decades. Look at the wreckage. Michael Jackson, consumed by fame, surrounded by leeches until his final days. Britney Spears, trapped in a conservatorship for 13 years, her life and body micromanaged, while her handlers pocketed $16 million a year. Macaulay Culkin, the child star who earned $23 million yet watched his father control every dime and every decision. Lindsay Lohan, pushed into the spotlight, then fed to the tabloids as she spiraled into addiction and legal chaos. Amanda Bynes, her breakdown served up as daily entertainment, while her mental health crumbled. The Olsen twins, working, since infancy, forced into an industry that left them with eating disorders and an escape from public life. Demi Lovato, whose addictions and trauma became just another brand narrative to market. The cycle is brutally predictable. Early discovery, financial control, psychological manipulation, a very public breakdown, and then disposal or rehabilitation repackaged as content. And it isn't stopping. This model is being exported globally, perfected, monetized, and weaponized against the next generation of stars. South Korea studied Hollywood's child star machine and decided, we can make it even more efficient. Today, children as young as 10 are signed as trainees, stripped from their families, and raised in company dormitories. In 2017, when singer Jong Yun ended his own life, his final note spoke of a depression that consumed him. But the industry didn't stop. It didn't pause for self-reflection. Instead, it simply upgraded its public relations strategy. China built its own version, where child influencers and rising pop stars can disappear into re-education if they step out of line. The UK churns through reality TV contestants like disposable props. On shows like Love Island, producers keep detailed psychological profiles of participants, cataloging their deepest insecurities, only to weaponize them for ratings. And when contestants attempt to end their lives, the cameras don't stop rolling. The machine just prepares the next season. This is the legacy of Hollywood, a system where childhood itself has become a commodity, where breaking someone down is more profitable than building them up, where psychological destruction isn't an accident, it's the business model. And now, social media has automated it. No longer does the industry need paparazzi or tabloids. Platforms themselves force people to expose their most fragile, chaotic moments, transforming breakdown into entertainment in real time. It's the Truman Show, rewritten for the digital age. And here's the brutal truth. Society funds this. Every click on a breakdown video, every meme about a star's desperate plea, every viral joke about Justin's attempt to shield his family, it all feeds the machine. Even a father's cry to protect his infant son is reduced to a punchline. Right now, somewhere, another gifted child is being discovered. Another contract is being signed. Another promise of fame and fortune is being whispered. While in reality, they're being fed into a machine designed to extract every ounce of profit from their talent. No matter the psychological cost, Justin doesn't need a comeback. He needs an escape. But this machine doesn't let go. It will push him until he breaks, then drag the fragments back onto a stage for one final performance. And if he resists, another child will take his place. Because this industry doesn't create art. It doesn't create culture. It creates trauma. Then it sells that trauma back to the world as entertainment, to an audience too numb to recognize that someone else's pain has become their pleasure. The machine is alive. It's hungry. And it's already looking for the next Justin Bieber. The only question is, who's going to feed it?